Paul Menard has become the 19th different leader of this race. He did it by not pitting on this caution. He was last on pit road 24 laps ago. We're back under green.
Menard's been having some pretty darn good runs here lately. I talked to Larry Carter. He says that this guy really is getting better and better, and he really enjoys working with him. Larry Carter's his crew chief.
But the pattern, we've been having a caution about every 20 to 30 laps, and that's what Larry Carter's banking on, because you don't want to have to make a green flag stop here by yourself, or you'll get lapped in a hurry.
We talked about Elliott Sadler being right up there with Denny Hamlin. How about Joey Logano, the rookie, after a strong run yesterday in the Nationwide Series race, and David Rudimann's up in the top 5 as well.
Yeah, you know, I'm not real surprised about Logano, because we watched him all in practice, had a good solid race car. He's been riding the bottom. It's one thing, he's been a bottom feeder ever since we've been here, practice, qualifying, and even in this race today. That car looks pretty good for this young rookie.
And I think we need to remember that team with Tony Stewart won the race the last time we were here in the fall last year.
Dick Berggren.
Well, the advice Logano got from his crew chief, Greg Zipadelli, is do not attempt to lead this race. Why? He's a rookie, and they would just blow on by him. He has been told to stay in the second position or further back and push, follow, learn all day. I don't think Zippy said that he had to do that at the very end of the race.
But you know what? We watched him at Daytona, and he struggled mightily. Hit the wall every time he went out on the racetrack. Daytona is intimidating. It's a hard racetrack to drive. This place here, it's really quite easy to drive. And really, because of that, you can focus more on what you're doing behind the wheel.
I like what Logano's doing right now, Darrell. He's not on the bottom, but he's picked up his mentor, Hamlin. Wherever Denny goes, Joey follows, and the two of them are able to break out front just a bit.
Well, remember practice, we were talking about the 20 and the 11. The 11 was wearing the back bumper of the 20 out. Maybe he says, I'm going to repay you a little bit here, brother.
You know, Tony Stewart may have won the race when we were here in the fall, but the guy that thought he won the race, look at him on the bottom right behind Casey Mears in that 07 car, Regan Smith in the 78. He actually has a bunch of damage to that car from that wreck earlier in the race. So he had some damage to the front end, and here he's banking up there in the top 10.
And the way Smith lost the race, he was driving for a different team than he is now. That double yellow line means no passing. He went below the line. Stewart came down to the line to block. NASCAR ruled that Smith had made an illegal pass below the double yellow line, and instead of putting him to second where he was running at the time, the rule required them to put him to the end of the lead lap, and Tony Stewart got the win. The NASCAR officials take great pains to explain this rule in every drivers' meeting at Daytona and Talladega. The bottom line is, if you go below the yellow line, the double line, and advance your position, you will be penalized. If you are forced down below the yellow line, you'll still be penalized, but NASCAR will consider also penalizing the car that forces you down there.
I tell you what, speaking of bottom line, did you see Jimmy Johnson in the 48 down in turn 1 and 2? He went from the top to the bottom, and Sam Hornish Jr. in the 77 said, you're not leaving me up here. I'm going with you, buddy.
Followed him right down there. Yeah. The 18 they did a lot of work on their car on that last pit stop. I don't know if it's helped him or hurt him.
Now Logano's hung out to dry. The rookie is in the high groove all by himself. Now he's going to get a little drafting help from the back, but he is out of this lead pack.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, who he's getting help from is a car that this group, they do not want to see him get this next lap back. Jeff Burton in that 31, 3 laps down because of alternator problems. He's gotten 2 of them back. Now he's only 1 lap down. Next caution, he'll be back on the lead lap.
There we saw the 18 bunch working on the rear bumper. Now, if that rear bumper cover was off of that race car, it would help it. But that rear bumper cover is tucked up under the back of the car. That's why they keep working on it. Did they get it fixed, Matt?
DW, the biggest issue they had, the rear bumper bar was sticking out a little too far. They were concerned that other cars did not want to tuck up and draft and push them because they thought they might then hurt their car. So they worked, pushed that bar back in, put some bear bond on the back, and sent him back out.
And what Darrell's talking about, the reason you would love to have that rear bumper not there, with it gone, it lets air out from underneath the car. When you let air out from underneath the car, it makes the car run faster. It reduces the drag of the car.
halfway next time by.
And you know, even though we had that big crash, took out a lot of good cars at the beginning, it hadn't affected this race one bit. These guys are racing just like that never happened. Matter of fact, they probably don't even remember who was in it at this point. They just worried about the cars that they're racing with right now.
Well, we have 33 cars on the lead lap, and they're roughly about 2.5 seconds separating those 33 cars.
Certainly kept the field bunched up because nobody's really lost the draft. You can ride around the back like we've seen Carl Edwards do all day and pull back up when you want to.
Now Denny Hamlin leads the halfway lap in the FedEx number 11 Toyota. We've got a new challenge for all of you watching. It's called NASCAR Know-It-All, and you'll find it at foxsports.com. Keywords Know It All. Answer our questions regarding next week's race at Richmond, and the winner will be announced the following week in Darlington. So if you know it all, we'll make you famous. At foxsports.com, keywords Know It All. 89 to go. On lap 8, 9 cars were taken out in a crash, 5 of which have returned to the racetrack. So out for the day, David Gilliland, Scott Riggs, Jamie McMurray, Clint Boyer, and Mark Martin. That ends Boyer's running at the finish streak of what, 81 races?
I think they're actually still trying to get his car back out on the racetrack.
You're right, Larry. Yeah. He's not out. He's off track, but not officially out of the race. Coming back on track with major damage, A.J. Allmendinger, Casey Kane, Kevin Harvick, and Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, to have that big of a crash, to only have actually 4 cars out, 5 cars out, and 1 in the garage area, it's amazing.
Larry, what do you do when you go back out there, your car's all wrecked up and you're 50 laps down or 40 laps down, and you get back out on the racetrack? You don't want to ride around by yourself, so you might as well have a little fun.
Try to
right?
have a little bit of fun, and we've been watching these guys have some
the
fun.
The 9 and the 44, it's like the 9 is trying to teach the 44 what it feels like to bump draft.
And yeah, the 44 and the 9, they're about 3 or 4 seconds off the leader's pace. But they're bump drafting along, trying to make sure they stay above minimum speed so NASCAR won't send them to the garage.
No, they're working together. They're pushing each other. And Larry and I have been watching them just laughing because some laps they never let go of each other.
But this is a battle for position right now between Jeff Gordon and Kevin Harvick.
This, folks, this is the race for 37th place.
You claim we never show the battles at the back of the pack. Here you are.
They are both 56 laps down, racing hard for position. And if Jeff Gordon passes Kevin Harvick, you know what he gets? He gets the point lead back. Right now, he would be second to either Jimmy Johnson or Kurt Busch.
Looks to me like it's a bad weekend to have a yellow car.
But meanwhile, back up front, as we've just crossed the 100-lap mark, Denny Hamlin, that 11 car, leading David Rudiman, David Stremme, Brian Vickers, and Reed Sorensen.
Well, we're going to have a shakeup in the points because Gordon may lose the point lead to Kurt Busch or Jimmy Johnson, and Jeff Burton will likely fall out of the top dozen. Terminator Salvation presents our top 12. These are the drivers right now who would be qualified for the chase based on the way they are running. Montoya, there in 11th, made the big jump this week. He's up 4 positions if he stays up in that lead pack.
I think it's pretty optimistic that it would stay that way right now.
Terminator Salvation opens May 21st.
Based on the way these guys have been racing, Mike, I don't know that we ought to worry about that too much right now.
Oh, this is in pencil, Darryl.
Oh, yeah.
And we got bigger racers. Don't worry.
You know what? We still have a long way to go, but in 3 weeks on Saturday night under the lights at Lowe's Motor Speedway, we got a little race called the All-Star Race. And you know what? You got 3 more shots to get in it the easy way. I won't say the easy way, but that's win Talladega, Richmond, or Darlington. When I look at a lot of our top 10, that's something that those guys could accomplish here if you could win here today.
How about our leader, Krista?
Well, Mike, Larry was just mentioning the All-Star race. That is certainly a race for the fans. Mike Ford, the crew chief for Denny Hamlin, was mentioning how this is a race for the fans also. Denny Hamlin putting on a great show right now. He's very quiet on the radio. Curtis Markham, his spotter, just telling him which line to take. And right now, Steve Burns, the FedEx Freight Toyota, is leading the freight train here at Talladega.
And Krista, David Stremme doing a fine job. He's in the 3rd position. Remember, before the pit stop, he'd been complaining of a loose wheel. After the stop, Roy McCauley said everything looks fine with the wheels. Just a moment vibration again, and I feel like it's in the motor. I feel it with my feet.
Well, that would tell me if I mean, that could be an exhaust problem. The exhaust system runs right through the right side of the car, and sometime if a header or a tailpipe or something gets a little hole in it, a little crack in it, it'll make your feet vibrate, rattle around a little bit.
Probably a little gun shy because, as I mentioned, he lost an engine qualifying yesterday.
Denny Hamlin, David Rudiman, David Stremme. Those are your leaders. 104 laps into the Aaron's 499 at Talladega.